Welcome. You'll be riding east into a wind that never seems to stop. You're not a noble, you're not a priest, you're not even a farmer anymore. You're a soldier in the greatest mounted army the world has ever seen. You belong to Genghis Khan now, or rather to his vision, because no one truly belongs to the man, only to the momentum he created. You live on horseback. You sleep under stars that burn brighter than they should. You eat dried meat, drink sour milk, and wear the same boots until they become one with your skin. You no longer measure your life in seasons. You measure it in conquests. Cities you've never heard of, rivers you've never named, screams in languages you don't speak. You are fast, terrifyingly fast, the kind of fast that makes empires crumble before they realize they've been touched. And yet for all your speed, there is no destination, only direction. Always forward, always into the dust. So settle in. Your bow is strung, your saddle is worn, and your spirit is half wild. There's no glory here, no comfort, just the rhythm of hooves, the silence before battle, and the soft, brutal hum of a world being conquered beneath you. Let's begin. You were chosen at 12, and you didn't get to say no. You don't remember being asked. No one came to the tent with a scroll and a gentle voice. No one sat beside the fire and said your name as if it were a question. It wasn't. It was a sentence. You were 12, old enough to ride, old enough to hold a bow, old enough to disappear from your mother's arms and reappear as something else entirely. You didn't cry. Not because you were brave, but because everyone was watching. In the steppe, crying is what you do when no one survives to see it. They handed you a horse before they handed you food, a shaggy creature with a thick neck and more brilliant eyes than you expected. He didn't like you, you didn't want him. That was the beginning of a partnership. They told you to mount. You did poorly, you fell. They laughed. Then they told you to do it again, and again, until your thighs ached and your hands blistered and your pride learned to wait its turn. That was your first day as a soldier. No sword, no war, just the sky, the wind, and the unforgiving patience of a horse that already knew more than you. There was no uniform, just layers of fur, leather, and whatever you could steal or stitch together. You slept beside your saddle. You kept your bow strung tight enough to snap bone. You were handed a knife that had belonged to a cousin who didn't return from a skirmish near the Yenisei. It still had a notch in the blade and a stain no one had bothered to polish out. You were told to sharpen it before nightfall. No one showed you how. That night, they gave you a strip of meat and a flask of kumis that tasted like sour wind and old mistakes. You drank because everyone else did. You tried not to grimace. The man beside you, face carved from decades of storms, slapped your back and called you Little Death. You didn't understand. Later you would. It was the name they gave to boys who hadn't killed yet, but would. Probably soon. There were no songs that first night. No welcome fire. Just the cold and the sound of hooves in the dark, and the slow realization that no one was going to tell you when this ended. You didn't ask to go home. You didn't ask anything. You understood already. Asking meant softness. Softness meant the wolves would find you before the arrows did. You curled up in your cloak and closed your eyes to the sound of men snoring, coughing, and sharpening things. You weren't a warrior, not yet. But the steppe doesn't wait for you to become one. It simply surrounds you until you are, or until you're gone, somewhere. Out there, the Khan was already riding. You would follow because there was no other path now. Only dust, and hooves, and tomorrow. Your horse is your bed, your weapon, and your lifeline the next morning arrives before your eyes open. You feel it in your spine first. cold air and the low creak of leather shifting under weight. Someone is already packing. Someone else is cursing softly at a horse that bit him. You sit up slowly. Everything hurts. Your cloak is stiff with frost. Your breath clouds in front of your face like smoke from a quiet fire. No one tells you what to do. You're supposed to know, or guess fast enough not to fall behind. You find your horse still tethered where you left him, chewing something frozen and indifferent. He doesn't greet you, just flicks his ear when you approach. You tighten the girth strap. Your hands are clumsy with sleep. When he finally turns his head and nudges your chest, it's not affection. It's a reminder. Move faster. Be better. He knows the rhythm of this life. You don't yet, but you will. You ride by noon, not a short ride, not a practice run. Hours, days, across empty stretches of land that feel like the edge of the world. There are no markers, no roads, just wind and instinct, and the dark curve of the horizon. You don't know where you're going, you don't ask. You ride. The horse becomes part of your body. His heartbeat syncs with yours. When he moves, you sway without thinking. When he stumbles, your stomach tightens, as if the ground is reaching for both of you. You learn to drink while riding, to nap in the saddle without falling, to use his flank as a windbreak when the storms sweep in, fast and cruel. You tie food into the folds of your gear and chew it without stopping. No one breaks formation for hunger. That night, you do not dismount, not fully. You let the horse rest where he stops. You loosen his bridle and rub the sweat from his back. He leans into you for a second, then walks off to piss. You laugh, the first real laugh in days. It feels like swallowing fire. You're not friends, but you're something. Something made of dirt and leather and shared silence. The others speak little. One sings under his breath, a song with no words, just rhythm. You listen to the hooves clapping against the frozen ground and imagine the earth remembering your names, even if no one else does. Someone hands you a sliver of dried goat. You chew. You sleep against the horse's belly. It's warm there, warmer than anything else. Sometime before dawn, you hear a scream. Short, sharp, then nothing. The column doesn't stop. No one checks. Later, someone says a wolf got one of the boys at the rear. You nod, not in shock, just to acknowledge it. You don't ask who. Doesn't matter. You check your horse. He's still there, still breathing, still yours, for now. You get back in the saddle and you ride, because that's what's left. You ride. They teach you to ride before they teach you to breathe. You haven't seen a building in 3 weeks, not even the remains of one. Just grass, endless and blunt, and the same sky hung like a stretched hide above your head. You've stopped counting the days. They all taste the same. Salted meat, smoke, dust, sometimes blood when your lip splits in the wind, or someone punches you for drifting too close during a turn. You're not a child anymore. You're not anything. Your legs, lungs, and whatever muscle stays awake while you ride. They don't stop to teach you. That would waste time. They just shout, curse, and expect your body to adapt. You do kind of. You fall. A lot. The bruises bloom like old ink along your ribs and thighs. Once you hit the ground so hard your breath vanished, and for one long second you thought you might never get it back. No one came to help. You rolled, you spat, you got back on, and no one mentioned it again. Your horse starts to listen, not with affection, with habit. You grunt. He turns. You lean. He slows. When you sleep, your hand stays tangled in his mane like it's your anchor. You start to dream while riding, not dreams with faces, just motion forward always. The same rhythm beats through your spine until it becomes your heartbeat. Sometimes you wake up already holding your reins. Then one morning something changes. You're woken not by wind or orders, but by silence. The line has stopped. The older men are standing, quiet, waiting. You sit up, try to see past the hunched shoulders and steaming breath. Then a cry, high, broken, and sharp as frost. Not a scream of pain, a scream of something worse. Zone of the boys is on the ground. His horse lay beside him, legs twisted in a way no living thing should bend. A rabbit hole, someone mutters, bad luck. The boy is trying to pull the saddle off like that might fix it. Like his hands could reverse whatever snapped inside that animal. But it's no use. The horse won't rise, and without a horse, you're not a soldier. You're a burden. The trainer rides forward, says nothing, pulls out his knife. The boy flinches, but the blade isn't for him, it's for the horse. Fast, brutal. One cut, the warmth spills out onto the dirt. The boy sobs once and then swallows it whole. He doesn't get a replacement. He walks now at the back of the line. No one speaks to him after that. You ride harder that day, not because of the cold, not because of fear, because your horse is still alive, still under you, still listening. And you know without anyone saying it that losing him would be worse than falling, worse than failing here. Your worth begins and ends with what you can achieve. So you ride and you pray, but only for the horse. Your first kill isn't on the battlefield. It's dinner. You don't sleep much after that. Not because of nightmares. Those are expected. It's the silence that keeps you awake. Now, the sound of hoofbeats was missing from the boy who used to ride behind you. He walks all day, head low, mouth shut, his hands still stained from the blood of the horse he didn't save. No one talks to him. Not because they're cruel, because they don't want it to be contagious, failure, misfortune, or weakness. It spreads quickly on the steppe. You ride for 2 more days before you're ordered to stop, not for rest, for meat. Supplies are thinning. The salted strips have run out. The goats are lean, and the winter is biting at the edge of the air. You're told to dismount. You obey, you're advised to follow. You do. You don't ask where. You've learned better. You're handed a short blade and led into a circle. In the middle, tethered and bleating, is a young sheep. Skinny, mud still clinging to its legs. It's not running. It can't. The rope is too short. Its eyes are wide, confused. You don't want to look at it, but you do anyway. You've seen dead animals before, but not like this, not upright, not waiting. The oldest man in the group squats beside it. He mutters something. Not a prayer. Not really, just old words with no home. Then he looks at you, hands you the knife, nods once. You freeze. This may be a mistake. Perhaps someone else is supposed to do it. You're not ready. No one blinks. And the rope is already in your hand. Your first kill isn't a man charging at you with a sword. It isn't dramatic. It isn't glorious. It's a sheep, soft and shaking, that trusts the rope will protect it. You kneel. You press the blade to its neck. Your hand won't stop trembling. Then it does, then it moves, and then it's done. The blood comes fast, thicker than you thought, hot against the cold wind. It pours into the dirt like it's been waiting. You drop the knife, step back. Someone catches the animal's body before it falls. You taste something bitter. It's not vomit, not grief, just the realization that nothing about survival is noble. It's only sharp. And finally, they skin it fast. Slice strips for drying, save the organs, roast. What can be roasted? You're handed the heart and cooked lightly over an open flame. You chew, swallow. You're not sick. You are expected to be. Instead, you feel something else, something strange, not pride, not strength, just distance. Like you've crossed into a place where everything has a price, and this was the entry fee. Latter, you rub your hands with snow to scrub out the smell. It doesn't go. You ride with it still on your fingers. That night, you dream of sheep eyes, of trust, and of ropes that only go in one direction, forward, always forward. The sky is your ceiling, and the steppe doesn't care if you cry you wake up with your face in the dirt. The cold is in your bones now, not just your skin. You don't remember falling asleep, you just remember blinking, then nothing. The fire burned out sometime during the night. No one relit it, no one woke you. That's not part of the agreement here. If you're breathing, you keep moving. If you stop, no one's supposed to notice. Not unless you stop for good. Your horse is already up, standing still and watching you. Sometimes you think he dreams too. Other times you're sure he doesn't sleep at all. You tighten the saddle with stiff fingers, wincing as frozen leather bites into your hands. The sky above you is blue and brutal, endless, beautiful in a way that makes you feel small enough to vanish. You want to look away. You look anyway. Today the wind cuts harder. It comes from the north and smells like ice and old wood. It carries silence, with it wide and sharp. You ride through it, teeth clenched, eyes watering. You can't cry, not really. The tears freeze before they fall. Still, your vision blurs. You're not sure if it's grief or weather, or just the slow erosion of being alive too long without pause. The boy who lost his horse isn't with the column anymore. He stopped walking yesterday. Just sat down on the edge of the camp and stared at his boots. You thought he was tying something. He wasn't. This morning, he was gone. No one said anything. One of the older men took his knife. That's how you know it's real. The taking of the blade, that's the funeral. You ride all morning in silence. No singing, no stories. Just the sound of hooves and breath and the creak of harnesses. The wind lifts your cloak and doesn't give it back. You don't chase it. You just pull what's left tighter. The steppe doesn't care what you lose. Not your warmth, not your voice, not your neck. It takes and takes, giving nothing back but distance. When the sun starts to sink, you see smoke in the east, faint, curling, too thick for a cook fire. You tense instinct now. Your horse picks up speed without being asked. The others follow. The wind swallows the noise of your gallop, but your heart drums loud enough to replace it. The smoke grows darker. You reach the rise, and you stop. It's a village, or what's left of one blackened walls. A roof half standing, no bodies. Just the smell of something cooked too long and left behind. You dismount slowly, step through the ash. No one speaks. Not even the dog survived. That night, you sleep with your back to the wind and your hand near your blade. The sky above you looks the same as yesterday, endless, cold, beautiful, and completely unmoved by everything you lost in the last 24 hours. You sleep next to your bow, not because of enemies, but wolves you don't eat that night. Not because there's no food, there is. Just enough dried meat, just enough sour milk, just enough bland warmth to fill the space in your stomach, but not the one in your chest. After the ruins of the village, your mouth stopped asking for things. Hunger became quiet. Not gone, just bored. You lie on the edge of camp, cloak pulled tight against the wind, head against the saddle. Your bow is beside you, the curve of it resting against your ribs like a second spine. You don't reach for it. Not yet, but your fingers know where it is. That's enough. The fire sputters low. Most of the others are already asleep. You can hear them, breathing slowly. One muttered in his sleep. Another is grinding his teeth like he's still biting through some fight from earlier in the year. The sky above is clear and sharp, the kind of cold that makes sound feel thinner. You close your eyes. Try not to think of the village, of the walls still standing, of the boots you saw half buried in ash. No feet inside them, just the suggestion that someone had stood there once. That was enough. Then you hear it, not loud, not near, but clear. A low growl, a snap of twigs, a sound with breath behind it. Your eyes open. You don't move. You don't speak. The others are still asleep. The wind has hidden everything but this. You reach for the bough, quiet, careful. You draw it close and listen again. A second growl, closer. Then silence. The kind of silence that wraps around you too tightly. You sit up slowly, scan the edge of the dark. Nothing moves, nothing shows, but the smell has changed. It's sharper now. Wet fur. Old hunger. Something wild and unsorry. You knock an arrow, but don't draw. Not yet. Drawing means you're ready to kill. You're not sure if that moment is now or 3 breaths from now. There's a flicker. Movement behind the line of horses. Your horse snorts, shifts his weight. You see eyes, yellow, low, watching one wolf, maybe 2, maybe more behind it. You stay still, so your breath starts to burn in your chest. The wolf steps forward, then another. Then they stop, not afraid, just deciding. Then the old man to your left sits up, makes a sound from deep in his throat, something low and broken and ancient. The wolves pause, then turn, not fast, just uninterested, like they'd done the math, and you weren't worth the effort tonight. You exhale slowly, the others never wake. The fire burns down to a whisper. You don't sleep again, just lie there with your bow in your arms, heartbeat in your ears, and the memory of eyes in the dark still moving behind your own. The wolves are gone. But you know they'll be back. Maybe not tonight. But eventually, everything comes back here. Cold, hunger, silence, and teeth. You learn to shoot while galloping, or you don't eat the next morning. You ride without speaking. The wolves didn't come back, but their absence feels more like a delay than a gift. Your eyes are heavy. You blink too often. The fire's ashes are cold when you pass them. Your bow stays strung across your lap as you mount. The fletching still damp from dew. The instructor at the front of the column doesn't wait. He rarely does. He just points at the horizon and moves you follow. You always follow. By midday, they stop in a clearing that the wind has almost forgotten. You could rest or eat something, but instead, someone tosses you a leather quiver, empty. Then another tosses a bundle of arrows. Not many, just enough to teach you a lesson. The old man with the scars across his jaw nods once, then turns his horse in a slow circle. You know what this is? The order is simple. Hit the target, any target, while moving. If you miss, you eat later. If you miss again, you eat less. It's not cruelty, it's rhythm, it's survival, pretending to be a sport. You mount again, heart already quick. Your legs are still sore from yesterday. Your bow feels heavier than it did an hour ago. They release a dummy on a rolling sled down the slope. It spins slightly, wobbles, moves just enough to feel real. Then someone shouts, "Ride!" Now your horse bolts forward. The wind hits your eyes and everything narrows. You reach for the first arrow, fumble it, regain it. You draw back. The tension in the bowstring eats into your fingers. You let go. The arrow sails wide, far wide. The men behind you curse like gamblers, losing money they never had. You don't slow down. You try again, another miss. The third time, your horse shifts left, and the arrow strikes something. Not the dummy, a rock behind it, still wrong, still useless. You circle back. The sled is still rolling, but it is moving slower now. You reach for the last arrow. Your fingers are numb, your chest aches. You hear someone laugh behind you. Then the arrow flies, quiet, sharp, and lands just beneath the wooden ribs of the target. Not a kill shot, but not a failure. The laughter stops. They let you eat, barely, a strip of meat, a handful of cold millet. You chew it without tasting. The old man doesn't speak, just grunts once and walks away. You stay in the saddle. Practice drawing without looking, practice gripping without breaking rhythm. You ride in small circles until your legs burn again. You fire until your fingers blister and your eyes sting from the wind. That night you slept beside your horse again, this time with the bow still in your hand. Not because of the wolves, because tomorrow they'll expect you to hit 2 targets, and you've already used all your arrows on the wrong kind of silence. The first time you cross a river, you're tied to a goat bladder, your arms still ache from the bowstring. You stretch them quietly in the dark, hoping no one sees the stiffness. Weakness is like meat here. If you show it, someone chews it. You slept little again. The wind turned wet just before dawn, a taste in the air that didn't belong to dust. When you rise, the smell of damp earth has already replaced the smoke. There's a hum around camp, the kind of quiet that means something new is coming. You ride without knowing the plan. You never know the plan, just where the horse goes and what the man in front of you points toward. Today, he points east. And after a few hours, the wind shifts again. This time, it is not cold, not sharp. This time it smells like water. Moving water, river water. Not a stream you can step over. Something wider, hungrier. You see it at the edge of the rise, a broad, dark ribbon cutting through the steppe. Slow moving, thick, wide enough to drown whole battalions of boys who thought they were men. The old men begin removing their saddlebags without a word. One starts inflating something. You squint, it looks like leather bladder goat, probably. You wonder if it still smells like one. Someone tosses one to you. It lands at your feet like a command. You don't ask what it's for. You just follow. You learn fast out here. Questions are slower than instructions. You tie the bladder around your waist. It squeaks. You pretend it doesn't. A rope leads your horse away, not across. Downstream, he'll be crossing at a safer bend. Not you. You're going straight in. The current is quiet. That's the trick. It doesn't shout. It waits. It pulls. You step in slowly. The water is colder than you expected. Not like cold wind, like bone cold. Like old death still clinging to the bottom. You're not a strong swimmer, but you don't have to be. You just have to float. They told you that. Float or disappear. That's all. Halfway across, your foot finds nothing. The current tugs. The bladder holds. You grip it tight and kick slowly, stupidly, like it owes you something. You try not to think about your armor sinking you. You try not to remember the boy who couldn't hold the rope last spring. They said his horse returned. Alone you make it barely. You crawl out coughing, your legs shake. Your bladder deflates in your arms like it's laughing. You throw it aside. Someone claps you on the shoulder and keeps walking. That's the praise, you didn't drown. Good. Try again next time later, when you're dry. You sit near the bank and watch the others cross. Some panic, some don't. One loses one's footing. He disappears for 2 long seconds, then resurfaces with a scream. He makes it, but something in his eyes stays lost. You keep your own goat bladder. You rinse it, fold it, tie it to your saddle. You never thought you'd feel gratitude for a thing that once held goat piss. But out here, anything that floats is worth keeping. Even you, maybe. You ride into a storm, and the rain feels like punishment. The day after the river crossing starts with the sun, but it feels dishonest, too bright, too quiet. The kind of light that makes you squint even before the wind begins to shift. You ride with your clothes still damp at the edges. Everything smells like wet leather and river rot. Your horse snorts more than usual. The birds are gone. No sky songs. Just that heavy silence again. But this one carries something with it. A weight. A warning. You don't need to be told. The men ahead start pulling fur cloaks tighter. One ties a cloth around his face. You follow without asking why. The answer arrives an hour later. You hear it before you see it. Thunder far off and too steady. Not like a drum, like something dragging. Then the wind turns and the sky follows. At first it's just dark clouds. Then it's the wind. Then it's everything. The rain doesn't fall. It slams sideways, angry, cold enough to numb your cheeks and soak through every seam. Your cloak flaps like a dying flag. The horse stumbles once, regains itself. You hold the reins with both hands now, not to steer, just to stay on. No one stops, no one shouts. The storm swallows all sound. You ride into it like it's a command. The ground turns to sludge beneath the hooves. Mud flies with every step. Your vision narrows to a tunnel of grey. You can't see the men ahead, can't hear the men behind. It's just you and the storm and the horse beneath you, deciding whether or not you're worth the effort. Lightning cracks close. Closer than it should be for a moment. Everything is lit up like day. You see shapes, riders, bows, shadows, then darkness again. Your ears ring. Your skin prickles. You don't know if you screamed. You hope not. Screaming feels too expensive here. Your saddle starts to slip. The leather soaked loose. You try to adjust it mid-gallop. A mistake. Your balance tilts. You slide. One boot stays in the stirrup, just long enough to save your life. You slam back down. Your ribs scream. You keep riding. You pass a figure on the side. A man kneeling in the mud, holding his horse's leg. It's twisted wrong. He sees you, his mouth moves. You can't hear what he says. You don't stop. No one does. You ride past him like the storm does, without mercy, without pause. When the rain finally slows, it doesn't stop. It just gets bored. The thunder fades. The air smells like iron. You don't know how long it lasted. Maybe an hour, maybe a year. Your hands are cut from holding wet reins too tightly. Your legs shake. The world looks the same, but you don't. That night, no one built a fire. There's nothing dry left to burn. You eat cold meat and sit in silence. You don't sleep. You just stare into the black sky, waiting for the next thing to fall. Rain, wind, lightning. Or maybe just the memory of today's storm, pretending it never happened. A man you've never met dies for you without saying a word. The storm didn't follow you, but it left something behind. The horses are slower, the men quieter. Everything smells of mildew and bruised, earthy soil. Your boots squelch with every step. You think the mud has soaked into your bones. No one speaks, unless necessary. Even the jokes have dried up. You ride with your head down and your bow strapped to your back, too tired to pretend today will be anything but more of the same until it isn't. You don't know the name of the man riding beside you. You've seen his face for weeks now, maybe longer. He never talks much, thick arms. A scar along his cheek, laughs like he's choking on something. That's all you've noticed. That's all you thought you needed to until now. It happens fast. You're riding between two hills when the arrow lands. No sound before it, just a thud, a hiss. Then another, then 10 more from nowhere, from everywhere. Your horse jerks sideways, you nearly fall. Someone screams. Another man drops like meat from a cart. You reach for your bow, but your hands won't move fast enough. The air is panicking now, thick with it. You duck low, trying to find cover where there is none. You see the next arrow too late. It's not aimed at you, not exactly, but it would have found you anyway until he blocks it. The man you've barely spoken to rides into it, just a turn of his shoulder, just enough to catch the arrow in his chest instead of you. He doesn't grunt, doesn't fall, just keeps riding for another second before sliding off the side of his horse like a coat shedding itself. You stop stupidly, uselessly. You stare. His eyes are open empty, like they didn't have time to shut. Someone grabs your arm, pulls you forward. You fire blind into the hills, into the trees. It doesn't matter. The ambush breaks. The arrows stop. Whoever it was, they're gone now, and left the silence behind like a body. Later, when it's quiet, they count the dead. 3 men, 1 horse, 1 arrow you never saw coming. 1 man whose name you don't know, but whose blood dried against your leg. You wipe it off with a strip of cloth and keep it. You don't know why, you just do. That night, the others built a small fire. No one sings, no one drinks. You find a stone and carve a single line into it. Nothing else. No name, no prayer. Just proof that someone stood where you are now and chose to fall instead of you. You drink fermented mare's milk and pretend it doesn't make you sick the day after he died. No one said his name, but someone passed around the flask. That was enough. You didn't ask what was in it. You already knew. The smell hit you first. Sharp, sour, alive in a way that made your stomach blink. Fermented mare's milk. They call it airag. You call it something else in your mind. You take a sip, then another. It burns a little, not like fire. It wants to be fire, but got lazy halfway through. Everyone drinks, even the boy who still cries in his sleep. No one talks about the taste. That's part of the ritual. You act like it's nothing, like it doesn't churn in your belly, and whisper regret through your ribs. You hold the flask steady and tilt it back like you've done this your whole life. It fools no one, but they nod. That's all you get. The sky's still overcast, pale and low, as if it had forgotten how to be blue. Your boots are still stiff from frost. But the milk warms you for about 4 minutes. Then it starts talking back. You lean against your saddle, swallow hard, try to breathe through it. Someone slaps your back and calls it your initiation. You manage a smile. It's the wrong shape. They hand it to the next man. He gulps like he's chasing ghosts. Maybe he is. You close your eyes for a second too long, and the world spins sideways. You stay upright. That's the only rule now. Don't fall. Not in the saddle. Not in the camp. Not here. Later, the nausea settles. Not because it's gone, because you've made peace with it. Your stomach rearranges its expectations. You chew on dry meat and pretend it helps. Someone tosses you a chunk of something grayer than it should be. You don't ask, you just bite. That night, the wind picks up. The flask makes another round. You pass it this time. No one cares. That's the other rule. You drink when you can. You skip when you must, but you never spit, never gag, never flinch. The man who taught you that is buried under frozen stone 2 valleys behind you. You sleep curled into yourself like a question, the kind no one will answer. The taste of the milk still clings to your tongue, faintly sour, strangely sweet. You dream of grass, but it smells like hooves. You dream of water, but it burns as you go down. By morning, your stomach has declared a truce. You wake up hungry, which is a dangerous situation. Hunger makes you reckless. Hunger makes you take another sip. And when they pass the flask again, you drink without blinking. It still tastes like punishment. But this time, it also tastes like a matter of survival. And that's enough for now. You ride for days without stopping, because orders are orders. The milk settles. But the order doesn't. It arrives with no fanfare, just a grunt from the officer and a hand gesture you've come to hate. Forward, always forward. No explanation, no map. Just the word passed through the line like it's heavier than it looks. Go, you mount up before your legs remember. They're tired. Your horse snorts beneath you, already bracing for what's coming. You whisper to him, a habit now, not for comfort, but permission. He moves. So do you. The first day is familiar dust, wind, the rhythm of hooves against dry earth. You chew leather to keep your jaw busy. The men are quiet. One hums for a while, then stops. The second day is harder. Saddles pinch, knees ache. A man dismounts to adjust his straps and nearly collapses trying to get back up. No one helps. Not out of cruelty, out of necessity. He makes it barely. No fires that night, no tents, just cloaks pulled over shoulders and dreams that hurt more than they heal. You sleep in pieces. Your spine curves around a rock. Your ribs curl into themselves like dried leaves. When the sun rises, your mouth tastes like iron. Your legs are numb. You mount anyway. The third day steals your voice. The dust makes it feel like you swallowed the road. You drink from your flask, and it tastes like regret. Your horse stumbles once. You don't blame him. He's carrying more than your weight. He's holding your silence, your guilt, your bones. You pat his neck and don't say sorry. He wouldn't understand the language of apologies, just the weight of your hands. By the fourth day, time forgets how to move. Hours stretch into something soft and cruel. You lose track of the sun. You stop blinking because the wind stings too much. The man ahead of you falls asleep in the saddle. His horse doesn't mind, keeps walking. You envy him deeply. Someone drops from their mount. A soft thud. Then nothing, no cry, no call. Just dust filling the space where breath used to be. The officer glances back, then forward. The pace doesn't change. The line bends around the body as if it were always meant to be there. On the fifth day, your lips split. Blood tastes like rust. Your saddle sores bleed through your tunic. You haven't spoken in hours, maybe longer. You try once, just to check. No sound comes. You nod instead at no one, just to prove you still can. That night, they let you stop, just for a little while. You don't sleep. You stare at the sky like it owes you something. You listen to your horse breathe. You wonder if he resents you. Then you feel his body shift closer. And for a moment, you believe he forgives you. When the stars fade, the order comes again, not shouted, just spoken, like breath, like gravity. You nod, you mount. You move because the road never ends, and neither do orders. The Khan speaks, and everyone goes silent. Even the horses, you don't know where he came from. One moment, it's just another endless ride, another ridge of wind and sky and bruised earth. Next he's there, not announced, not escorted, just still. Sitting on a dark horse so motionless, it might be carved from shadow, the column halts without command. As if the ground itself knew who he was before the men did. The silence arrives first, deep wide. It spreads like fog, the kind that dampens even thoughts. No one dares move, no one whispers, even the animals are still. Your horse lowers its head as if taught by something older than memory. He doesn't look like a legend. He doesn't glow. There's no gold, no banners, just a face weathered by sand and sun, eyes that burn too quietly to be stared at. His hands rest on the reins like they've held every life you've ever heard about and more. You've seen men scream orders. You've seen men drunk on power, puffed and loud. He is none of that. He opens his mouth, and the world narrows to the space between his words. You don't remember the beginning. You only remember the weight of it. His voice isn't loud, it's low. The kind of low that climbs into your chest and rearranges your heartbeat. He talks about the next raid, the next campaign, the punishment for hesitation, the reward for loyalty. It's not long, it doesn't need to be. Every syllable feels like it was sharpened first. You find yourself nodding before you understand why. Your mouth stays closed. That's safer. When he finishes, no one claps, no one cheers. That would feel disrespectful. You look around and see men breathing as if they've forgotten how. You realize your fingers are clenched around the saddle horn. Your knees ache. Your throat is dry again. The wind picks back up, and even that sounds softer, as if it too was listening. He turns his horse without ceremony and vanishes over a hill, the same way he came. The column doesn't move right away. You sit there caught in the pause, unsure if time has permission to continue. When the officer finally signals, it feels like waking up from something too important to name. That night, no one talked about him, not because he wasn't real, but because words feel too small. Someone sharpens a blade more carefully than usual. Someone else rearranges their saddle gear just in case. You stretch your legs and pretend you aren't thinking about the way his eyes passed over the camp, like he already knew who would live and who wouldn't. You sleep with your hands tucked under your head and dream of his voice. It doesn't speak your language. It doesn't need to. It says in blood and dust and the shape of a shadow cresting a hill. When you wake, the silence is still there, and the horses are already standing, waiting, just like you. You burn a city, then camp in its ashes. The silence never entirely leaves after he speaks. It just hides beneath the noise, waiting, even as the next order comes. Even as you ride toward the city that someone else mapped, named, and built, it rises in the distance like a secret that thought it was safe. Your horse feels it too. His steps tighten, his breathing shifts. You don't speak to him, you just hold the reins a little looser. Let him know you're still with him, still afraid. You arrive before sunset. The gates are closed. The air smells like salt and smoke, even though the fires haven't started yet. You dismount. The plan is the same as always. Surround, wait, surge. It doesn't take long. They aren't ready. They never are. Some shout. Some run. Some plead in languages your ears don't understand. But fire speaks to one who doesn't need translation. You torch the homes first, then the stores, then the stables. The animals scream louder than the people. The walls fall in slow motion, crumbling as if they had known it was coming. You walk through the heat with your bow slung behind you and ash clinging to your boots like wet cloth. You don't look up. You don't look back. You only breathe when you find a place where nothing's left to ruin. When it's over, the wind shifts. It carries the smoke into your eyes, into your throat. It tastes like regret. It smells like something wholly dying. You don't spit. You don't cough. You sit down on the blackened floor of what used to be a home and take off your gloves. Your fingers are shaking, not from fear, not from cold, just from remembering too many faces that will never be remembered again. The officers call for camp right there, in the ruins, as if the bones of the city should warm you, as if its silence should wrap around you like a blanket. You find a flat spot beside a fallen wall and roll out your mat. The stones underneath are still warm. The heat comes up through your back, through your ribs. You pretend it's from the sun. Someone opens a flask. Someone else chews meat that didn't come from any animal you recognize. Laughter cracks like dry wood. You don't join in, you press your forehead to your knees and breathe through your nose. Ash settles into your hair, into your mouth. You stop brushing it away, you let it stay. Maybe it's earned the right. Later, in the dead part of the night, you wake to the sound of horses shifting in place. You look around and can't tell where the city ends and the camp begins. Everything is the same color now. Everything is burnt. You close your eyes and hope the dream is different. But it isn't. It never is. Just fire. Just voices. Just the quiet that follows when a place is erased and no one remembers. You catch a fever and they leave you behind without ceremony. You wake before the sun, but something is wrong. Your body is moving without permission, not with strength but with shaking, not cold, not quite. A fever, the kind that curls under your skin and chuckles to itself. You sit up too fast and the world tilts sideways. Your head, the type that lives behind your eyes and drips into your ears like melted snow. You cough once. Then again. It sounds different. Thicker. You press your palm to your chest and feel the tremble run deeper than your bones. The others are already packing. Saddles tightened, boots laced. Someone eats something dry and crusted with soot. You don't. You try to stand. Your knees don't agree. You blink hard, hoping your body will remember the rhythm. It learned weeks ago. It doesn't. You sway like a horse that's been ridden too long. No one catches you. No one even looks. You lean against the wreckage of a blackened wall and try to count your breaths. Each one takes longer to find. The commander passes by without stopping. He doesn't need to. He sees the sweat on your face, the way your hands tremble when you adjust your belt. That's all the report he needs. A man sick enough to fall is a man sufficient light to leave. They don't say goodbye, not because they're cruel, because they're trained. This is how it works. The horses begin to move. The line curls out of the ash like smoke. You don't call out, you know better. No one would answer. You sit back down, not because you want to, because your legs decide the argument is over. By noon, you've stopped sweating. That's worse. Your clothes feel stiff. Your tongue is dry and furry and swollen all at once. You drag yourself to a broken trough and drink water that smells like wood rot. You drink it anyway. It doesn't help. Nothing does. Time becomes soft again, loose at the edges. You don't remember falling asleep. You just remember waking up under a dead sky and realizing the camp was already a memory. You dream of hoofbeats. You dream of wolves. You dream of someone lifting you and whispering your name. But when you open your eyes, no one is there. Just the remains of the city breathing smoke through its shattered ribs. You see where they sat, where they laughed, where the fire started. It's all so still now, like it never happened. By the second night, you stop waiting for them to come back. Not because you believe they won't, because you understand that they can't. You roll onto your side and use your cloak as a pillow. You whisper something to your horse, though he's not there, just the air pretending to be loyal. You close your eyes again and hope the fever forgets your name before morning. The song they sing is about you, but it doesn't mention your name. The fever breaks sometime. During the third night, you wake in sweat and soot, ribs sticky against your tunic, mouth open like you were trying to speak in your sleep. But there's no one to answer. Just wind. Just the faint echo of hooves long gone. You sit up slowly, head full of cobwebs and memories that don't hold still. You're alone, but not entirely. The city still breathes beneath the ash. You feel it in the warmth of the stones, the shape of the silence. You walk, stagger at first, then steadier. The ground crunches under your boots like brittle paper. You find a half-burned post, brush the ash away, and sit. The world feels thinner now, like something essential slipped out while you were sick. You reach into your bag for food and find a strip of meat someone must have left behind. You chew it slowly. It tastes like ash and forgiveness. You don't know how many days pass before another column appears on the horizon. Not your unit, different colors, different scars. They find you sitting by the ruins, face blank, hands still. One of them offers water. You nod. He pours it into a shared bowl. You drink. It tastes clean. It tastes new. They don't ask questions, just look at you like you've been folded into something bigger than choice. They let you ride with them. No one asks your name, it doesn't matter. You've become something else now. A ghost that eats and rides and stares too long at smoke. Later that night they sing, low and slow. The kind of song you're not supposed to interrupt. You sit at the edge of their circle and listen. The verses speak of a rider lost in ash, of a man swallowed by fever, but not buried by it. They tell of fire and silence and waking up in the ruins like a shadow reborn. They don't say your name, but you feel it there inside the melody, tucked between the lines. No one looks at you when they sing. That's how you know it's real. You keep your eyes on the fire. Let it warm your face. Let the smoke climb back into your skin like it never really left. You don't cry. Not because you're strong, because there's nothing left to leak. When the last note fades, someone throws more wood into the flames. The sparks rise like stars that forgot how to stay in the sky. You lie back on the earth and let your breath fall into rhythm with the wind. You think of your horse, of the friend who froze without a sound, of the city that died twice. Once in a fire, once in memory. You close your eyes. And for the first time in weeks, you slept without dreaming of your own name because the song was enough, even if it was never said out loud. You see China's wall, and it doesn't look so big anymore. The next road is longer than the last. But quieter, the men you ride with don't ask questions, and you don't give answers. The song still hums in your bones, not the melody, but the feeling of it. Like someone touched your shadow and didn't flinch, you ride with your back straighter now, not proud, just balanced. Like your body remembers who you used to be and forgives you for forgetting. The land shifts beneath you. Hills rise where plains once stretched. The grass grows thinner, sharper. The wind changes tone, higher somehow. The sky pulls tight over your shoulders. You think you're climbing towards something, though no one says what. Then one morning, before the sun finishes bleeding across the horizon, you see it long straight, stone that cuts through the land like a scar that healed wrong. The wall you've heard stories. Everyone has that, it's endless, that it holds the sky up. Behind it are men who wear silk and sleep on pillows made of gold. It doesn't look like that now. It just looks tired. Ancient, exhausted in the way old warriors look when they sit down and know they'll never stand up again. You stare at it for a long time, waiting for fear. It doesn't come. Your horse stops on a ridge. You dismount slowly, walk forward with your hands loose at your sides. The wall casts no shadow yet. The sun hasn't decided where to place it. You run your fingers along the surface. It's colder than you thought. Smoother too. You press your ear against it and listen. Nothing. No whispers, no secrets. Just stone. Behind you, a few others do the same. Some spit. One man starts humming the same song from the last campfire, then stops halfway through the verse, like he forgot the words or remembered too many. No one continues it. The silence is louder here, not empty, just full of things that never got said. You climb a watchtower. The stairs are cracked and worn, but they hold. From the top, the land spreads wide and uneven, broken by more walls, more towers, more years. You imagine what it took to build it. All those hands stacking fear into place. You wonder how many of those hands are bones now, buried beneath the very thing they built to keep the world. A hawk circles overhead. Your eyes follow it until it disappears into a patch of sky that still looks free. You think of your fever, of the city you burned, of the name the song forgot, and you realize this wall, for all its length and weight, won't stop anything that's already decided to move forward. You climb back down without speaking. You mount your horse and glance at the stones one last time. Not to remember them, but to be sure they remember you. Then you ride on past the wall, past the myth, into the part of the world that never promised to hold you back. You die in the snow, and the empire marches on without a pause. It happens on a slope. No one will remember, no banners, no battle, just a wind that cuts deeper than steel and a sky that forgets to be blue. The snow begins as a whisper and then thickens, piling up in your boots, your sleeves, and your lungs. The line moves more slowly now. Horses strain against the powder. Men lean forward, faces wrapped in cloth, voices lost to the howl. You start coughing before the first hill. At first, no one hears. Then someone looks back, just once. Then forward again. You try to wave it off, try to stay upright in the saddle. But the heat is leaving you. Not fast, just steady, like a decision you don't get to argue with. Your fingers feel too big for your gloves. Your thoughts are too slow for your skull. When your horse stumbles, you slide off like water, not a fall. More like letting go. You land hard but stay down. You wait for someone to notice, someone to stop. The hoofbeats pass beside you like thunder with no concern. You are now part of the land. Something the horses step around, something the men pretend not to see. The snow builds quickly. It doesn't ask permission. It finds your neck, your chest, and your eyes. You blink once, then again. Then stop. Your body is too tired to shake anymore. You think of the wall, of the song, of your horse, and whether he knows you're gone. You think of the fire you slept beside in that ruined city, how the stones stayed warm even after everything else was lost. You try to reach for that heat again, but your arms don't listen. Your breath shallows. You don't fight it. There's no glory to win here. No enemy to fear. Just white. Just cold. Just the quiet that fills the space where your name used to be. The column never pauses. Not because they forgot you, because they were taught not to stop. The empire doesn't slow for bones, doesn't wait for memory. Orders are orders. March is march. Somewhere ahead, a new camp is being built. A new story is being written. Someone else will eat. Someone else will sing. The snow finishes what the fever started, what the silence polished. You don't cry, you don't whisper. You simply dissolve into the white, like breath, like ash, like every rider who vanished before you. Tomorrow, the wind will cover your tracks. The slope will look untouched, and the empire will stretch farther than it did the day before, as if you were never there, as if your life were just another step, another heartbeat, another shadow the snow quietly erased. The wind keeps moving. That's the part no one tells you. Not the raids, not the blood, not even the songs. It's the wind that stays long after you're gone. It picks up the ashes. It smooths the footprints. It whispers through the bones left behind in the snow. And it never forgets the weight of a rider once carried. You were never meant to be remembered by name. Not here. Not in this kind of empire. You were part of something vast, cold, and relentless. Something that didn't stop for sickness or sorrow. You rode through cities, across rivers, into fire. You saw what no one sings about. You slept with your bow. You bled with your horse. And when it ended, no horn was blown. No flag lowered. But maybe, just maybe, someone down the line will feel the shape of your story in the way a saddle creaks, in the breath of a restless horse, in a silence too heavy to ignore. And that will be enough. So sleep now. Let the wind tuck you in beneath the steppe. Let the sky press down like a familiar hand you've ridden far enough. And the empire, it rides on. But you can rest.